Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks for being here. Oh my gosh, another podcast? Chris, why do another one? 12 years of podcasts. Maybe it's time to just stop and take a break already. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Go to youtube.com/Chris Voss. Hit the bell notification and go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss. See everything we read and review over there. We actually know how to read. I know it looks like I don't, but I actually do. Mostly that's a lot audible because I don't know. I went to public school. Betsy DeVos is public school, so I can't read. Anyway, guys, go to our groups: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, all those different places, and see everything that's going on there. Now, we do have someone who went to school on the show. Actually, those big colleges, the colleges, and he learned all sorts of amazing stuff. And he's gonna be talking to us and himself. I don't know if he really wants to. Maybe that's his thing. Don't we all do that in coronavirus now with the lockdown? We're just walking around our house talking to ourselves. But he is on the show. He's going to be talking about his new book that just came out February 1st, 2022, called Impact: How Rocks from Space Led to Life, Culture, and Donkey Kong. We have Greg Brennecka on the show. He's going to be talking to us. And when he mentions rocks, he's not talking about like Metallica or heavy metal. At least I don't think he is. So we'll have to ask him when he comes on the show. He is a PhD and staff scientist and cosmochemist at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. After his doctoral work at Arizona State University, he received the prestigious Sofia Kovalevskaya Award. I'm going with that. I'm not Russian. Sorry. They're invading Ukraine, so screw those people. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Alexander, I'm sure it's a prestigious award. Alexander von Humboldt Foundation. I just assume that's Russian. That's probably not a correct assumption on my part. I'm going to hell. To study the early solar system at the Institute for Planetology in Münster, Germany, where he led the Solar System Forensic Group for 5 years. His research has appeared in Science, Nature, and Proceedings of the National Academy of Science. Greg lives in Livermore Wine Valley. Livermore Wine Valley? That sounds like an oxymoron. Liver and wine. Country, and fully enjoys the local flavors. Welcome to the show, Greg, and my apologies for making fun of your bio.
No worries at all. It's a lot of strange words in there for sure.
Shouldn't that be Liverless Valley Wine Country? I don't know.
Yeah, well, you want a big liver if you're going to drink a lot of the wine, right?
That's true. I did vodka for about 20 years, so I know all about livers and drinking. You can see it on me right now. So tell us your plugs, where people can find you on the interwebs and maybe get to know you better.
I try to stay off the interwebs as much as possible. I am on Twitter at Greg Brennecka, just my name. Pretty straightforward and simple.
So no Snapchat. Man, there's gonna be a lot of women in the audience disappointed.
Yeah, I don't think that's true.
They usually are with me. I have to block all of them. Not. So give us what motivates you want to write this book.
I think it was just the fact that I come from a group that studies meteorites and a small community, and there's not a lot of people that outside the community know why we do it or why meteorites are important. And it turns out they've really changed the course of history, and not just on a human level, but on a planet level. So that's kind of why I did it.
Yeah. Now this has nothing to do with rock and roll and Metallica. Is that correct?
Not much, I guess, but I am a big fan. So I
said how rocks.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought there's a new band that coming in from space. So tell us, like that Star Wars movie, like a Cantina or whatever. Yeah, there you go. So give us an overarching thing about the book, and we'll get some of the deets.
Yeah, sure. So people think okay, meteorites are just nice doorstops or something you buy on eBay, and a lot of people know that they probably killed the dinosaurs, and that's kind of what I would guess the general population thinks about it, because that's certainly where I was when I got into graduate school.
Yeah, well, the dinosaurs kind of had it coming. We all know that.
Yeah, the dinosaurs did have it coming. They, big lizards, come on. And so that's kind of the end of most people's understanding about meteorites. And turns out we wouldn't have life at all if it wasn't for meteorites. There's a lot of different things that they've done for us, and they're not just things that kill the dinosaurs or keep the door open. They're things that bring life and other things that we need.
Wow. And there's some interesting aspects and things that you find in the book. Is the premise of the book that our life or humanity or all life was brought to here from another planet and came across those meteorites, or?
Well, not really life itself, but the ingredients for life.
Hmm.
I don't think anyone seriously in the meteoritic community believes that life, hitched a ride on a meteorite and then, kind of started propagating on Earth. But meteorites certainly brought the ingredients. And I don't just mean, things like water, but even much more complex things like amino acids and, even nucleotide bases that are making up our DNA and RNA. So, some pretty complex molecules that do hitch rides on meteorites. And that they delivered basically the entire biosphere to the planet.
That's interesting. We had someone on the show who was a Mars scientist, and his theory is that Mars, when it was maybe in a better position, had some sort of life, and then the dust then blew over to us. And I thought that was kind of interesting. So I mean, would you still say that we might be, as human beings, dust of the stars still technically of some type?
Absolutely. I mean, we've got nothing but a big recycling program up there with the stars. I mean, every atom that is created in your body and my body was a star at some point. So
serious.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
this is crazy.
This is interesting. Now, what part of the Bible was that in?
Exodus, I don't know. I only know 2.
Now, do these meteor happens over 7 days? No, stop it. I can't. I'm an atheist, by the way. I should fully disclose that. I think my audience knows that very well. But no, this is really interesting because, from what I understand and the scientists we've talked to, like you say, you can find the stardust, fingerprints, I guess, in our body. And so you talk about how it led to life, culture, and what was the reference to Donkey Kong? I grew up with that as a kid.
Not a Donkey Kong fan? What's up?
I know I am. I grew up with it in the 80s. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, the reference to Donkey Kong is electronics. And, meteorites are the reason we have electronics. And that's not, something that, a lot of people probably know. And Donkey Kong obviously is the highest end electronic we have. So that's why I put that in the title of the book.
Yeah. There's some interesting fun facts here. On average, over 100 tons of extraterrestrial material is added to Earth every day from micrometeorites. That's pretty wild, man.
Yeah, that's a lot of material coming down. I like to think of it in terms of amount of Volkswagens. So that's like 75 Volkswagen Jettas.
75 Volkswagens.
That's a lot of stuff every single day.
Luckily, now hold on, 75 Volkswagens every single day?
Every day. I mean, obviously they're in dust form, so they're not in Jetta form, but it's still a lot of material.
So no Jetta, just the Beetle sort of size?
It's just the smallest ones, yeah.
Just the smallest ones?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, can we contact the company and get them to stop that, Volkswagen? We do not.
It's good for us, Chris. It's good for us.
It's good for us. So it gives us those materials that we need for stuff. This is kind of interesting. King Tut was buried with a knife, from a knife, with a knife. I don't know. Maybe he had it coming too. Soul Caesar, from an iron meteorite. So even our pharaoh folks back in the day in ancient Egypt knew about meteorites and stuff.
Yeah, they worshipped them. They were, obviously the Egyptians have Ra as the sun god, so they were pretty tuned to the sky. But they were lucky enough to see some large iron meteorites fall, and they made a lot of artifacts out of them. And they couldn't make iron themselves. They didn't have the technology to do it. So anything iron that they could make was from meteorites. And of course, if you're the pharaoh, you get a sweet knife out of it.
Yeah, man, because you're the pharaoh, eh?
Yeah.
This is really interesting. The weird thing about man and his religions, his man-made religions, is one of the things that kind of center me on, my questions about why are we here and what we're doing is, a long time ago, there were cavemen living in a cave, and this sort of stuff was, really extraordinary to us. I mean, even today it's extraordinary, but these people are living in caves, and, you go in the dark and you see stuff falling from the sky, and you're like, the sky is falling, the world's over. It's like any day on certain news channels. And so they make up, I think there's 3,000 gods that man has made up over the years. Because, whether it's whatever. Number. It's a high number. And the Romans officially worshipped a meteorite as their prime deity for 4 years into the reign of Emperor. I'll let you tell me that name.
Yeah, well, I'll say it wrong as well. I always pronounce it Elagabalus, but historians will certainly correct me on that.
Yeah, I usually have Elagabalus problems after a night of
Yeah,
Taco
it's
Bell.
tough. It's
Yeah.
But yeah, he didn't last very long, so that's why not a lot of people know his name. I
Only
guess
4 years.
but 4 years is still a pretty good reign, I guess.
That and he sounds like a colon disease. I'm sure. Sorry, we probably lost the Emperor Elagabalus room now. So this is pretty interesting. So we've been fascinated with this. I just saw on TikTok like a whole mess of meteorites coming in together. I don't know where it was, in Texas or Houston or someplace, or wherever it was, but it was really cool, and people are still fascinated by things falling from the sky. What are some other aspects in your book that help us understand what's going on with these rocks from space?
Yeah, well, I mean, your kind of references to religions and how many gods we've had over the years, and how important they have been, to cavemen and et cetera, to ancient cultures. But it's interesting. You look at even some of the most followed religions today, Islam and Christianity, and they wouldn't be anywhere near the religions they are, at least the same trajectory, if it weren't for meteorites. And that I found that to be really fascinating. I was doing this research, is that how important they were to the development of Christianity, for example.
In what ways? Tell us more.
Yeah, so early on, even the Star of Bethlehem is thought to be a comet. So
yeah,
it kind of starts with that, I guess. But you may have heard of St. Paul or Saul. St. Paul is the capital of Minnesota, of course, named after the evangelist Paul or Saul. He changed his name, but he was, the story goes that he was, an anti-Christian basically early on, and was writing to give some Christians a hard time, and then was knocked off his horse by this big meteorite impact that, blinded him for 3 days. And all that, that's the historical document. And then he, of course, converted and then became the most important figure in Christian evangelism. So, that's a pretty big deal. And it's interesting that story actually holds up when you look at it scientifically, because we've seen that in, various meteorite instances.
Yeah, maybe it works good for recruiting. You're like, God's angry at us. Look, see, he's throwing crap at us. Maybe I don't know, for religions, maybe that's what meteorites really are. God's just angry. He's throwing snowballs. And
well, the Aztecs actually thought they were poops from the gods. So
really,
yeah, which
that's
is, I think,
gross.
really funny. That's what I chose to study, was poops from the gods. But
that's gross. Earth is. There's a whole new box, man. There's a whole new movie script for you. Earth is God's litter box. That might explain this might explain some people I see in Florida on the news all the time. The Florida man people there.
You got it back on Florida. Come on.
Well, we've already run off the Emperor Elagabalus Globalus gentleman, so we might as well lose the Florida crowd too with it. This is extraordinary. And so I guess there's loads of organic molecules. Is there stuff that have come in? Like, I know this sounds crazy, but I anything you preface with, I know that sounds crazy these days.
With all due respect.
With all due respect, it might sound crazy, but I used to have this friend who claimed that he worked at he claimed that he worked at Area 51 at one time, and he was like in a guard or some sort of facility where he wasn't like anything, but he was like, there's something down there in the basement. And I'm like, you've watched Independence Day way too many times. And he claimed that like all sorts of these sort of special materials that we have, like titanium or other really rare stuff that we have, comes from down there, and we learned to make it from the aliens, of course, that are down there in the beds. But is it throwing that craziness out? Of course, I don't know. I could be wrong. We're going Joe Rogan all of a sudden. Is there maybe some materials that we've gotten on that we use as special metals in the earth from these meteorites?
Absolutely. I mean, friend, there's some craziness there. I'll grant you that, but the crux of it, that we do have a lot of material from meteorites that we wouldn't have otherwise, is definitely true. Yeah, I alluded to that earlier with the electronics. I mean, there's stuff we make high-end electronics out of, like palladium and gold and these fancy metals that are difficult to pronounce sometimes. All that comes from meteorites, because Earth started with it, but it all went to the core. when Earth melted, basically, and we wouldn't have any at all in the crust of the Earth that we could access if it weren't for meteorites just continually pelting us. So thank those Jettas that are flying down.
Think those Volkswagen Beetles coming in, unless they hit your car windshield, and then you're gonna be pissed because you have to call the insurance company. So you really believe that maybe, I mean, we came from the dust of the stars, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for meteorites, possibly?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of aspects to that too. I mean, you can talk about the organic delivery. You can talk about, killing the dinosaurs. If the dinosaurs weren't dead, then we probably wouldn't rise up as mammals.
Interesting. They probably would have eaten us. First guy, they would have just eaten them.
Yeah, you're just a fuzzy snack at that point.
Yeah. The whole Bible story would have been, the whole Bible study would have been, or a story would have been different. It would have been Adam and Eve in the garden. A dinosaur T-Rex just comes in and goes, like, oh shit. God's like, fuck.
This didn't work out at all.
I spent 6 days making that crap.
You need more intelligent design, I guess.
Yeah.
Without the giant lizards.
Probably, I mean, we deserve it. Seriously. Have you seen how we turned out lately? This is really interesting. Large swaths of the ocean would be virtually devoid of life if micrometeorites did not provide bioavailable iron to plankton. That's really wild.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, they took away the dinosaurs, but they provide for plankton. So
yeah. Can we get more of this stuff?
Can we flying down contains a lot of stuff that the plankton need, and they just use it. So it's pretty cool.
Can we get more of this stuff? Like, can we order it on Amazon or something? Like,
actually, I got this one on Amazon.
Oh, did you really? You think you bought a meteorite?
Well, eBay. Excuse me, I take it back. It was eBay.
Now, if people come across meteorites, do I need to do a PSA health thing? Should they be touching them when they?
Well, if you intend on studying them, probably not. But if you intend on putting them on your mantle to talk about, then that's fine.
Yeah, I might wear some gloves because I know that, like, the stuff that they bring back from space, like if they go to the moon and stuff, which of course was faked. I'm kidding.
Oh, obviously.
As long as we're on the Joe Rogan rant, we might as well just go off the rails. But evidently the dust is pretty toxic, right? Or maybe it's because it travels to space, it picks up gamma rays or something.
I think we more want to protect the dust from us. I think we don't want to contaminate the rocks because they contain a lot of valuable scientific information. Why do you want my ham sandwich on it? So
yeah, you're putting your ham sandwich on the rock.
Well,
do they not give you a plate salary as a scientist? We actually had one of the people that I referenced earlier wrote a book about the discussion of the ethics of going to Mars. And whether or not we should, it was kind of one of those discussions like when you go interact with species in the wild, should you be careful not to, give them our colds and our flus and all of our germs, and then, break that sort of barrier. And so his thesis was the same, that we shouldn't go to Mars because we're just going to bring all the ugly crap that we bring, and probably we should just leave it alone in its pristine condition.
Propagate humanity throughout the cosmos.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing we do with capitalism. Look how that works out. We try and prop it up somewhere, it just turns into communism or something. I don't know. It seems that way sometimes. But no, if we go there, I mean, it's kind of funny that we can take a planet that already looks like a shithole and turn it into a worse one. But if you've seen what we've done with this one, you kind of get the idea.
Man, you are pessimistic.
I know. I'm just doing jokes today. I love this. This is fun. What are some other things that we need to know about meteorites and all this stuff with rocks?
Well, you mentioned Mars. I think that's an interesting segue into talking about meteorites from Mars. I mean, we haven't brought back any pieces of Mars. We've been up there quite a few times with rovers, and there's been a lot of cool stuff done, but the only samples of the planet we have are from meteorites.
Really?
And that's how we get a lot of our information about the interior of the planet and kind of how it's evolved over time is from these meteorites.
And did the meteorites come from Mars, or they pass through Mars' atmosphere and they pick up?
No, we've got 300 that were blasted off the surface of Mars.
Wow.
Basically, a big asteroid will hit Mars and then knock off a chunk of Mars, and then we're the beneficiaries of it.
Wow. It's really interesting. So what about these shows they're always talking about? Like, I don't know, what was that recent show that they did where an asteroid or comet is coming to us?
Don't look up.
Don't look up. Yeah. Are we in for one of those? Like, how's that? Maybe?
I hope not. No, I think we're okay for now. I mean, we've got a lot of people trying to pay attention to the big ones, and who knows? Things can come from the shadows you don't know about. So
Yeah,
I
what
wouldn't
about that?
panic.
What about that big asteroid that passed by that everyone thought maybe was a ship? It looked like a giant, I don't know, galactic
Oh,
battleship.
that one with the Hawaiian name that I can't pronounce.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it didn't hit us, did it?
No, but I mean, something like that's got to have a lot of different makeup and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it could make a big hole in the ground if it hits us, but luckily there's a lot of space out there in space. So
Do most of the meteorites come from our galaxy, or do they come in from other places?
they all come from our solar system. So
Okay.
basically, everything we get either comes from the moon, from Mars, or from the asteroid belt, which is between Mars and Jupiter. So they're all locally sourced, turds from the gods, as the Aztecs thought.
Turds from the gods. Next time I see one, I'm gonna say that. Well, this is really interesting and really cool. And how it propagates life, how it has an effect on everything we do. And um is there, I mean, some of these space rocks, how old are some of these?
They're old. Most of the meteorites we look at are kind of snapshots of the very early solar system. So 4.5 billion with a B.
Wow.
So they're old.
Do you know how old that rock is? It's on your desk. Is it like a fine wine where
it's still pretty old. It's also 4.5 billion. I mean, we go
There you go.
4.567 billion, things like that. It's old.
If I were you, I'd put it in the meteorite cellar and let that steep for another couple
Let it
billion
age a
years.
little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and then open it, drink it. So pretty cool. All the different stuff that goes on here. Are there like meteorite chasers of scientists where if they see large meteorites come in, they think there's, they're not going to disappear through the atmosphere, they go out and they chase them and try and get them?
Yeah, actually, there's a few people that kind of make a living chasing meteorites.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
It does sound like one hell of a life. You see a fireball in the news, and you just jump on a plane to that country and go, take your metal detector and start looking.
Wow, that's crazy, man. It's like
Yeah.
that. What was that old show where the storm chasers or whatever, the tornado chasers back in the
Yeah,
90s?
yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, you just run around doing that. So that's got to be cool. Anything more you want to touch on about the book or tease out about the book?
I just think there's a lot of interesting stories that are in there about what meteorites have done for humanity and the planet. So if you're interested in big history or interested in how we got to where we are, check it out. There's some cool stuff in there.
Is there anything new that we can find, or have we pretty much collected it all?
Oh man, we're finding new stuff all the time.
Serious? Wow.
Oh yeah, that's what keeps me going. And we've got some space missions that are going up. There's one that just returned from the Japanese Space Agency, and NASA's doing one collecting pieces of a meteorite, or basically pieces of an asteroid, bringing it back. So it's like going to the meteorite.
Isn't this so crazy? I remember watching that. There was one or two movies. I think one was with Bruce Willis back in the day, and they went to a meteorite and they blew it up and whatever.
Yeah, they're blowing them up then.
And now we're just going to them and it's like picking stuff up, and you're just like, I'm going to jump off at 5 billion miles an hour or whatever.
Yeah, we're friends with them now, so it's fun.
That is wild, man. Can you imagine when I think about this stuff, where I see like the International Space Station or something like this going on, I think of the brothers. Who are the brothers that invented flight?
The Wright brothers.
The Wright brothers. I want to say the Lyndon brothers for some reason, and I think I'm thinking of Charles Lindbergh. And can you imagine how much their minds would be blown if they came and they're like, "Shit, we did this. We started this crap."
Or anybody from the 1900s, early 1900s. I mean, the stuff that has changed since then is incredible.
That's awesome. Well, this is a wonderful book, and you should piss off probably a lot of people in religion with it. So it's good to find my.
That was definitely the main goal when I was writing it. So,
have you gotten interesting comments yet on social media or?
Yeah, a few.
Okay.
But I think most people that are reading it realize that it's not about how God created the earth in 7 days. It's more about how physics created the earth in 4.5 billion years. So
yeah. To quote that great show, I forget the name of it. Science, bitch.
Breaking Bad, right?
Breaking Bad, HBO. Thank you very much. Science, bitch. I love that meme. So this is really cool. Give us your plugs, Greg, as we go out, so that people can find you on the interwebs.
Just Greg Brennecka is my Twitter handle. So at Greg Brennecka. And that's all I've got. I don't
There
have
you
anything
go.
else. I'm
There you
not
go.
fancy on the internet. I didn't.
Yeah, ladies, reach out to him. Maybe you can get him to set up a Snapchat account. Anyway, check him out. Impact: How Rocks from Space Led to Life, Culture, and Donkey Kong, which is always important, especially if you're a Donkey Kong fan. I remember the days when you put a quarter in arcade machines, and everyone was worried we were gambling or something back then, or they were satanic. It was the 80s. It was really weird. So check out his book, order up. You can find out more, learn science, because science is important. Science is all around you, especially in all the different things that we do these days. To my audience, be sure to go to youtube.com/Chris Voss, hit the bell notification button, go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, go to all of our groups, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. Make sure you subscribe to that LinkedIn newsletter. It's killing it on LinkedIn, and the big 132,000 member LinkedIn group as well. Thanks for coming on the show, Greg. We certainly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
There you go. And thanks, my audience, for tuning in. Be good to each other, and we'll see you guys